Hey everybody, welcome to class. Today I'm going to be covering infection control. You should have the pamphlet that I have attached in the email and an outline to follow along. The outline has blanks that you can fill in if that helps you to remember. If not, it's up to you, but all of the information that I want to cover is in your pamphlet that looks like this. Okay, so infection control. Oh, and as we go through, I'm going to write the answers for each one of these in the outline, the blank, up here, so it's easier to follow along. So with infection control, we have different federal agencies that regulate how to properly disinfect and sanitize our surfaces and our implements and tools. The first one that we're going to talk about is OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. So on A, I want you to write OSHA. This was created as part of the U.S. Department of Labor to regulate and enforce safety and health regulations to protect employees in the workplace. So on number 1, you need to put labor and then employees. This beginning has a lot of information, so it's got more that you need to write. Later on, when we cover procedures, there will be less writing. Okay, and they also regulate employee exposure to potential toxic substances and informing employees about possible hazards of materials used in the workplace. Those are key points of the Occupational Safety and Health of 1970 that was established. So number 2 here is employee. These regulations created the Hazard Communication Standards, HCS, which requires that chemical manufacturers and importers access and communicate the possible hazards associated with their products. This is listed on your material safety data sheets, your MSDS. The standards set by OSHA are important to the cosmetology and aesthetics industry because of the products used in the salon, spa, and medical offices. OSHA standards address issues relating to the handling, mixing, storing, and disposing of products, general safety in the workplace, and your right to know about any potential hazardous ingredients contained in the products you use and how to avoid these hazards. So OSHA, the whole point of OSHA is to protect the employee. So it regulates what chemicals are in products, and then the MSDS sheets that give you all the information about those chemicals and proper handling. Now let's talk about Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. So that is B. EPA registers all types of disinfectants. Disinfectants are chemical products that destroy all bacteria, fungi, and viruses. But for viruses, they do not kill the spores. Spores are something, so number 2 is viruses, which is our hot topic right now with everything that's going on. But the spores, spores is where it goes dormant and it creates this hard shell around the virus. TB or tuberculosis is the main one, and hospital grade disinfectants like TB-Side, which is a quat, actually kills the spores, but not all disinfectants can kill the spores. TB-Side is the strongest disinfectant that we have. Okay, so the 2 types that are in salon, spas, medical offices, and medi-spas are hospital grade disinfectants and tuberculocidal disinfectants, and we're going to discuss both of them. These types of disinfectants are to be used on non-porous material and surfaces. So things like your countertops, vinyl chairs, metal implements like your shears, your extractors. I don't know why my brain just went whoop, but it did. So anything that is non-porous. Plastic there are certain disinfectants that can start to break down plastic and actually create little hollows in it where bacteria can live. So you have to be careful with plastic. Barbicide is perfect to use with plastic because it's not as corrosive, but if you use something like bleach, it can actually break down the plastic or the enamel that is around your metal implements to keep them from rusting and corroding. So Clorox or bleach is not ideal disinfectant to use because of this. Now, if you have leather couches, chairs in your salon or spa, you don't want to use any type of disinfectant like a Barbicide, Citrus 2 on the leather because it can actually break down the leather because it is organic. It's not hard, it is porous, so the leather can absorb the disinfectant and then break down your chair over time. Non-porous means that an item is made or constructed of a material that has no pores or opening and it cannot absorb any liquids. Hospital-grade disinfectants control the spread of disease. An abnormal condition of all or part of the body or its systems or organs that make the body incapable of carrying on normal functions. Now let's talk about tuberculocidal disinfectants. These are proven to kill the bacteria that causes tuberculosis. Tuberculosis creates this spore that we were talking about a while ago that creates this outer shell, and it's very difficult to kill. And so if a disinfectant is able to kill a tuberculosis bacteria, then any other type of bacteria or viruses, it's going to be able to diminish those as well. So tuberculosis is or tuberculocidal is one of the strongest ones. So if it can kill that, it's going to cover everything else. These bacteria are capable of forming spores, just like we talked about, and they're difficult to kill. Tuberculocidal disinfectants are one kind of hospital disinfectant. The fact that tuberculocidal disinfectants are more powerful does not mean that you should automatically reach for them. Some of these products can be harmful to salon, spas, and aesthetic tools. So like we were talking about a while ago with chlorine, breaking down products. Tuberculocidal is more corrosive because it is stronger in order to break down that spore and kill the bacteria. So if you don't need to use the TB-cide, then it's best to go with something like a Barbicide or a Citrus 2 to disinfect. And we'll discuss how to pick those in a little bit further into the section. Some of these products can be harmful. We discussed that. Check the rules in your state to be sure that the products you choose complies with state requirements, which as Gould's Corporation, we have already done that. It is against federal law to use any disinfectant product contrary to its labeling. So make sure that you're reading the labels and handling that product, because it is a very strong chemical, appropriately. Okay, so let's talk about infection control and principles of infection. Working in the salon and spa is fun and rewarding, but it also has a great responsibility. One careless action could cause injury or infection. So we have to be super careful in how we take care of and keep cross-contamination from happening between our clients. If your actions result in an injury or infection, you could lose your license and ruin the salon's or spa's reputation. Fortunately, preventing the spread of infection is easy when you know proper procedures and follow them at all times. Prevention begins and ends with you. Infection control are the methods to eliminate or reduce the transmission of infectious organisms, and that is our next blank. For A, make sure we get this up here so you know how to spell and you can follow along easier. Eliminate. And look at that, I just misspelled eliminate. That should be an I. Eliminate, and then infectious. Us as the licensed professional, Must understand and remember the following 4 types of potential harmful organisms. There's bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. Under certain conditions, many of these organisms can cause infectious disease. An infectious disease is caused by pathogenic, which means harmful, organisms that enter the body. An infectious disease may or may not be spread from one person to another. In this class, we will learn how to properly clean and disinfect the tools and equipment and salon surfaces you use in the salon spa or even in your medical facility if you're located at a medi spa, so they are safe for you and your clients. Cleaning and disinfecting procedures are designed to prevent the spread of infectious disease. Disinfectants used in salon spas and medical facilities must be a bactericidal, a virucidal, and a fungicidal. Bactericidal means that it kills bacteria. Virucidal means it kills viruses, and fungicidal means it kills fungi. You need to make sure that you follow proper mixing protocols. So like if you're using concentrated barbicide, you need to make sure you follow the directions on the bottle to make sure you're getting that mixed in the appropriate ratios. If you don't, it can be not strong enough and not effective, or it can be corrosive if it's too strong and break down your implements quicker, and you'll have to spend more money to get more implements. So if you put like tweezers in there and it breaks down the enamel of the metal, your tweezers are gonna rust. Same thing with shears or any other metal implements. So you need to make sure that you've got the appropriate ratios. Okay, so let's talk about proper sanitizing and disinfecting non-porous implements. So you have method 1. Hold up. Sorry, I skipped a page. Decontamination. Decontamination, you have method 1 and method 2. Method 1 is cleaning and disinfecting. Whoops, not brown, pink. So this would be your disinfecting. And then method 2 would be cleaning and sterilizing. I hope you can read my chicken scratch. Many state regulatory agencies believe there is a low risk of infection in salons than in medical facilities where sterilizing is a major concern. Most of our salon and spas, we're just going to be dealing with method 1, which is cleaning and disinfecting. If you work at a medi spa, then you have the appropriate equipment to sterilize. We have, so in our spas, we have like UV lamps that we call them sterilizing lamps, but we need to treat them more as like dryers, because sterilizing is what you do in an autoclave where you use steam or dry heat to actually get the metal implements so hot that it kills everything that can possibly be on them, and they come out in a sealed container. The UV lights are not sterilizers. They can help prevent growth of any viruses, bacteria, fungi, but it's not going to kill. So you need to make sure that your UV lamps, they can be a drying place, but not used to sterilize. The equipment, it's not the same. So we're going to spend most of our time talking about method 1, because that is the bulk of our salon and spas at Gould's. So proper sanitizing and disinfecting non-porous implements. In your pamphlet that you have, that is method 1, the first one listed here. You need to make sure that you store all sold implements in closed containers until you're able to take them to the sink, properly clean them, and then disinfect them. You're going to wear safety glasses and goggles after removing the sold implements from the bin. Or safety glasses and gloves, not goggles, same thing. You're going to rinse all your implements with warm water and wash them with soap. So your first cleansing, this is just sanitizing, this is just cleansing, getting dirt, debris, makeup, or whatever is on your implement off of it. Then you're going to disinfect. You cannot disinfect until you've removed all of the soiled debris that is on your implement. Once that has been properly cleaned, then you can submerge into barbicide if it is appropriate. So barbicide, if you have a plastic handle and you've got bristles for a brush, that can go into barbicide. But if it's got like a wood handle, the wood is porous, it can't go into the barbicide. So you would need to spray down the bristles with like Citrus 2 and let that sit for the appropriate amount of time. You cannot submerge porous implements into barbicide. Once they have soaked for 10 minutes, or according to the manufacturer's instructions, you will remove them from the barbicide with gloved hands or tongs. Rinse them with warm water, pat dry, and then let them finish drying before storing them in a closed container to create airborne, or to eliminate airborne pathogens from being able to land on your cleaned instruments. Now, proper sanitizing, disinfecting salon surfaces. This is also method 1, but this isn't tools or implements that can be submerged. So like your counters, your chairs, things that you have to disinfect, but you can't, we don't have a barbicide jar, we don't have a pool of it that you can submerge a chair into. So the way you're properly going to disinfect it is you're going to put on your safety glasses and gloves before starting. Wipe down the area first with a proper cleaning solution. Then once you have properly cleaned it, now you can disinfect it. So now that it's been properly cleaned with the cleaner that you have at your salon or spa, whether that's Citrus 2 or any other type of cleaner that you could have, like a degreaser or something like that. Once it's cleaned, now you can take barbicide, TB-side, or Citrus 2 the second time. Now it can disinfect. You're going to wipe down the area with the disinfectant and make sure that it's wet for the appropriate amount of time. Now, I have created a disinfectant information sheet, and this will be posted in all the salon and spas. For each disinfectant that we have, the TB side, the barbicide, Citrus 2, and even the clipper side, I've got all of these steps listed on how to properly sanitize and then disinfect each one, because some of them have different time limits. So TB side has 3 minutes that it would have to stay on a salon surface. Barbicide has to be 10 minutes. Citrus 2 is 5 minutes, and clipper side is 10 minutes. So make sure that you're following proper protocol. All of these steps were taken directly from the bottle. So if you don't know and this isn't handy posted, like say you're beside your chair and you can't see this, just look at the bottle. It's listed there on the bottle, pretty easily followed. If it doesn't sit for the appropriate amount of time, then it's not going to disinfect it. So it has to sit for 3 minutes for the TB side, or it's not going to have time enough to be effective. And then if it sits too long, then the corrosive chemicals that are in it can start to break down your implements and your surfaces. So you need to make sure you follow the steps to a T. Okay, and then decontamination method number 2, the sterilization. We've already covered that briefly. If you work in a medi-spa for Gould's that has an autoclave or a sterilizing machine, then you are already familiar with that technique. Choosing the proper disinfectant. We've already discussed that bleach is not an ideal disinfectant because it is so corrosive. It is best to use a barbicide or one of the 4 that we have listed here that Gould supplies for everyone. Mixing up the barbicide. So the appropriate ratios for mixing barbicide is 2 ounces of barbicide to 32 ounces of water. And most people mix in the barbicide before they mix in the water. It's actually ideal to do it the other way around, because what is in the container when you pour water in, what splashes up on you is the chemical. So if you have water in the container and you pour the chemical in, then the chemical goes down and what splashes up is just plain water. So for safety reasons, it's actually best to put the water in first and then add the chemical. And all of that's listed and explained on the side of the bottle. TB side quats, this is already pre-mixed, so you don't have to worry about it. And it's much quicker at disinfecting than the barbicide. But really you don't submerge your tools in it because it is more corrosive. So barbicide is best for implements I prefer TV side for salon surfaces, but that is a preference. Either way, you need to make sure you follow appropriate protocol on the time limit. Okay, let's talk about proper hand washing. Proper hand washing is one of the most important actions you can take to prevent spreading germs from one person to another. So the blank on proper hand washing for A is spreading. Proper hand washing removes germs from the folds and grooves of the skin and from under the free edge of the nail plate by lifting and rinsing germs and contaminants from the surface. You should wash your hands thoroughly before and after each service. So B on here is before. You need to wash your hands before the service and then again after the service. We're going to discuss proper hand washing techniques now. So we're going to walk over here to the sink. And I'm going to demonstrate proper hand washing. Jeez Louise, I can't get my ring off. Rings are best not to be worn in the salon and spa because they can trap viruses and bacteria in them, so it's best to remove them before coming to work at the spa and doing any treatment. First thing we're going to do is turn on warm water. It's best not to be hot. When it's hot, you're too quick with washing your hands and you rushed it because it's just too warm. So you need to make sure that it's warm. Wet your hands. So vigorously rub together until a lather forms. Wash for 20 seconds as a minimum. So you want to make sure you wash your palms, between your fingers, wash your thumbs, wash the tops of your hands, and then include up to your wrists because we use all of this in doing facials and even in haircuts. All of this comes in contact with our clients, so we need to make sure that we cleanse it all. Fingers, thumbs, palms, tops of hands, and rinse. And go through both of them twice, and that'll just make sure that you have washed your hands for 20 seconds. Now we're going to rinse. I know we want to conserve water here, but most important is to make sure we don't contaminate our freshly cleaned hands. So it's more important that we pull paper towels, dry our hands completely, and then turn the water off with the paper towel. Now I'm going to demonstrate cleansing the fingernails with a brush. So if you were doing that with washing your hands, you would have wanted to left the water on. But proper cleansing of the fingernails after you have washed your hands. So on to the bristles. And now we're going to scrub our fingernails horizontal first. And rotate your fingers side to side. And I'm kind of stair-stepping them down as I move so I can make sure I get in the grooves and corners. And then you're going to go vertical on the nail beds. And then make sure you cleanse your thumb as well. And then vertical on the nail beds. This will take about 30 seconds to do it appropriately for each hand. Rinse. We're going to switch. This time, because I'm a right hand, I'm not a lefty, I don't try to move with my left hand. I move my right hand against the bristles and just hold it steady with my left. I'm not handy enough with my left hand to use it. Okay. And then the nail bed. And now we're going to rinse, and make sure you rinse into the fingernails so it washes away all the debris that you have loosened up. Okay. Now we're going to get another paper towel. that out. Paper towel to dry our hands. And again, we're going to turn our water off. We're also going to take the soiled implement. Instead of contaminating our hands again, we're going to use paper towels to touch everything. And now this goes into the barbicide for 10 minutes. That is proper hand washing technique. Okay, now let's discuss waterless hand sanitizer. You can either have a gel format for a pump. Gould's has also supplied us with a spray, which is very handy for our hand sanitizer. It comes in a large jug, and I just put it into the spray bottle and appropriately labeled it. So when you sanitize, you need to make sure that you cover all surfaces of your hand between your fingers. Sanitizing is great when you're currently working with one client and you can't get to the sink and you need to sanitize before you cross-contaminate. But it's not ideal to use all day. You need to wash your hands. That is much more effective at cleansing and washing away viruses, bacteria, fungi, whatever is on your hands than sanitizer is at disinfecting. It's much better to just wash your hands. So anytime you have the chance to go wash your hands over sanitizing, choose wash your hands every single time. Okay, we are almost finished. We're going to cover blood exposure incident, and then we are done. Let me make sure I've got, okay, waterless hand sanitizer. If you're still following along on your outline, this A is germicide. Antiseptics are germicides formulated for use on the skin and are registered and regulated by the FDA. Antiseptics can contain either alcohol or benzalkonium chloride, which is less drying to the skin than alcohol. Alcohol solutions containing 60 to 95% alcohol are most effective at sanitizing hands. Lower and higher concentrations are less potent. Most alcohol-based products contain skin conditioning agents to reduce the risk of irritation of the alcohol. Okay, so now let's talk about blood exposure. So blood exposure incidents, this is generally covered under standard precautions, or sometimes referred to as universal precautions. Standard precautions were introduced by the CDC in 1996 to replace universal precautions. So down here, universal. And this should say standard precautions up here, but for some reason I didn't write it. You can see it on your outline. Okay, then personal protective equipment. So we're going to talk about that. This is to be worn for contact with all body fluids, even if blood is not visible. So personal protective equipment, also referred to as PPE, is to be worn, and this includes gloves, this includes masks, safety goggles, anything that, or a face visor, anything that is going to protect you. This is personal protective equipment. So in a blood exposure incident, the very first thing that you need to do, and we're going to work right here with the mannequin, is to stop the service. So if your client somehow, some way has got an abrasion on their skin, it's time to stop the service. So in this scenario, we are going to simulate that the abrasion is on the forehead. So the very first thing you do after you have stopped the service is to put gloves on. And we're going to discuss how to properly take them off and all of that in this demonstration. So once your gloves are on, you have to double bag everything. So my favorite way to do this is have a sandwich bag handy, and I generally keep them inside of my first aid kit, folded up right there. open it up like so it can stay open and you can work. You can take a gauze, apply pressure to get the bleeding to stop. After applying pressure, this goes into the bag. This goes into the bag. All of my trash is going here. I need alcohol prep pad. We have to disinfect or sanitize or clean the abrasion. So with an alcohol pad, we have done that. And now we need a Band-Aid. These gloves are a little bit too big for my hands. Trash, trash. Everything goes here because it can be soiled from the blood exposure. So we'll apply the Band-Aid to the client. And now all of this, we are done. Make sure all of our trash is put in the bag. Now to remove our gloves, everything on the outside of this glove is contaminated. So I cannot touch here and I cannot take my glove under to touch my skin. So I've got to grab here, flip inside out. And now to remove this glove that is contaminated, run your hand under it where your hands are clean and flip this inside out. And now this goes here inside of our bag. This flips back, sealed. And now this is a single bag and we can put this directly into our trash can, tie it up, and now it has been officially double bagged. You're going to do appropriate disinfecting after you clean the area. So your surface here needs to be disinfected and your hands need to be properly cleaned, scrubbed, and then sanitized with disinfectant after you've completely cleaned your hands. That is a proper blood exposure incident. Okay, we have now officially finished our course for a refresher for the infection control procedures according to our agency that is over Tennessee. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us here at Gould's and we will answer them, and here to help you in any way that we can. Y'all have a great day.